Cilja kommer fullt pa shumë për punën e saj për shembull interesante në Ljubljana. Vazhdo.
Hello. Zana said I'm an architect and artist, and I want to present today one project I developed. We developed in a group. So I work individually, but also in a group, together with friends, artists, and architects, and one of them is sociologist. Stefan Doepner, he's from Germany. Urska Jurman, Polonca Lovšin, it's me, and Apolonija Sustersic. And we somehow started to work together in 2006, but the first and the biggest and the most still going on project, it's called Beyond the Construction Site, and this through the process turned into a community garden. And we didn't know that this will be a community garden, so it didn't start with the intention to develop a community garden in Ljubljana, but more our goal was a little bit critical approach to existing urban policies, related mainly to fenced-off construction sites, because this started to happen already before the crisis. When building companies couldn't build construction sites, couldn't develop the project, they left them fenced off for a long period of time, really long period of time. So they are still there. And of course, after the crisis, especially in Slovenia and Ljubljana, most evidently in 2010, the number of fenced-off construction sites in the city totally raised, and it's a big thing, because you cannot, through our research, we found out when you open a construction site, it can be there forever. So the end of the construction site is when the building is finished. So in between there are no rules. And what we are looking at, it's our site. We are in the city center. You can imagine opposite of this green area, it's a main railway station, a bus station. We are in the, 5 minutes to the, even less, 3 minutes to the old city center. And this is very valuable piece of land. In 2010, when we started, it was already 5 years non-active. But actually the whole area was redeveloped, started to be redeveloped more than 20 years ago. So this construction site is there for 20 years. It started to be filled in step by step, but like this, it's now 10 years. We started 5 years ago, and now it's altogether 10 years. So as you can see in this part there, this is a piece of land that we targeted, not the whole construction site. And our main idea was that we are not from the site, so nobody is living there. Ljubljana is small, you can imagine, so we pass many times, but we knew that it's very important that we work together with neighborhood residents. And first, they are the one who has knowledge about the site, also historical knowledge about the site, many of them. They are the one who are irritated by the situation, so the situation is a degraded urban area, which turned through time into a trash zone because people were throwing trash over the fence. Also, when the building company stopped working, they left also trash area of a lot of construction site material behind them, so a lot of plastic, iron, broken glass, all that kind of material. And what is important that residents are included from our perspective is also that, of course, this means in some way also sustainable development of the project. So if they are involved, they will somehow be passionate about the project and also continue to be part of this situation, to be part of this initiative. And what we are looking at is the first meeting we had with residents in front of the fenced-off site. We didn't open at that time. I have to say that we used the opportunity to start this project in the frame of one bigger festival called Young Lions. It's quite known festival for performative arts. The location is in the neighborhood. And they wanted that, I mean, we started, it's always like the end of August is this festival, like 1 or 2 weeks. And we entered actually this site in the frame of this festival. We got also, through the process, we figured out that the location, the land is from the municipality. And we got, for the time of festival, 2 weeks permit to enter the site, to do some interventions. And still, it's very important, I will underline again, that we managed to, after these 2 weeks, we managed to also have an agreement with the city for 1 year. And it's kind of temporary use agreement, which is very rare in Ljubljana. It's the only one, I think, for a longer period of time still. And also this was our issue, so we somehow wanted to stimulate the process at also the municipal level, that temporary use of space would be more easily accessed by the users, by the citizens, and also that the municipality would be able to be more flexible and to give land for a temporary time. Because for municipalities, still mentality is that it's better to keep it empty, because, you know, they don't trust into these initiatives for temporary use, because what happens if they will stay there forever, how we will get rid of them, and so on. So these are these bad experiences in the past. And I think what for us is very precious and important is that we managed to get this agreement. And we are extending it. We had some troubles really right now when I was in contact with Bekim. They didn't prolong the contract, but we figured out it was a bureaucratic misunderstanding. So we are again still another year there. Even though residents, you can see the apartment blocks, we are from 2 sides encircled with apartment blocks. Residents liked the idea, they were enthusiastic, but I have to say that the first half of the year they didn't join physically on site. So when we met them on the street, everyone was saying, oh great, we like the idea, but they really didn't involved in the cleaning. We had a lot of cleaning actions. Here you see we were bringing earth on site because it was already, the first layer was taken away, so it's more gravel. We knew that if we want to plant maybe something, it would be necessary to bring earth. So these physical actions were done mainly in a group of us initiators and some individual enthusiasts coming from different parts of Ljubljana, not really from the site. And this was, of course, quite frustrating for us, because we were thinking what we are doing wrong. I mean, what should be changed that we would attract them, that people would see that this is something that they would also like to join, really, or to dedicate their time. So 1 year, I mean, winter went by, and in spring we decided that we will address residents again, but more in a way that come and make yourself a garden. This was this invitation, which is written here. And I have to say that from conversations in the beginning, everyone said that they want to keep it green. So the main idea was to keep this space green, but like we were saying, okay, let's do some community green space. It was maybe too abstract for some people to imagine what this is. And with this, we actually got a big response of the residents. At least 20 families and individuals came, and at that moment this space turned into a community garden actually, because before it was not clear gardens, vegetable gardens, what green community space, but here the need for urban gardens, vegetable gardens became evident, and this is not just something that is existing everywhere, where maybe in general it is, but in Ljubljana we got a new mayor in 2006, and he has a really, I mean, he's very active. He's building, he's renewing the old city part. I don't know who visited Ljubljana recently in these years, but it's really improving. It looks, I mean, a lot of cafes, really arranged spaces. But what he did, the new mayor and his team, they also decided that they will, because these vegetable gardens, more in the terms of allotments, not community gardens, were in Ljubljana more or less illegal. So they were occupying quite big spaces, public spaces, and because this was self-built architecture done with cheap material, in opinion of many professionals, also architects, this was something that we should be a bit ashamed of or get rid of it. Through time this changed, but still the mayor decided to remove 2,000 gardens on public land in 2 years, 2007 and 2008. Even though he promised that, of course, that he will replace the number, he never did it, he didn't manage. And I think also this response to have gardens is very strongly related to this situation, which was happening at that time of this, in this area of arranging, regulating urban gardening properly. This is what you are looking at is one of my collages, because how I do my individual practice is that based on research, I create collages. This is one of the models I developed now through time. And I'm talking about what I'm talking now at this presentation. In Vienna, they had similar situation 100 years ago. Of course, people the land on the outskirts had their gardens, but they also started to build homes. And also in our case, they were afraid, in case of old allotment gardens, they were afraid that this will turn into illegal residential areas. So this was one of the reasons also to cut the existing situation. And just to say another thing is that in 7 years, from this, in 2007 they started, in 7 years they managed to create 115 new allotments. So they removed 2,000 and created 115. And if residents today are asking how to get a garden, they don't offer you a garden on public land because it's at the moment no possibility, but they ask you to address farmers and private landowners. So this is it. So I will return to the April when we had the first meeting and invitation to do the gardens. We started immediately to create gardens. This is a look from above. We didn't have any, we decided not to have a plan. This was a bit also a test for us because we said, okay, it's interesting to see how this will develop without a plan. And of course, without a plan, this means you have to discuss a lot. You have to discuss each move. So it's a lot of discussion, which is in some way time-consuming, but also very good for communication, for getting to know people, to make this group of people more connected somehow, or they will know them, each other better. This is all soon then May, you see, and then, yeah, this is of course we were asking ourselves, okay, what is this space now? What is the role of this space? What is different with this space, this community garden in Ljubljana? I don't know if you in Pristina have one community garden, but we were first in Ljubljana, definitely also probably in Slovenia. Now, I mean, soon after, in 2012, another community garden opened in Maribor. They managed to take one part of the money from this big cultural capital money. So Maribor was cultural capital, and one part, quite big part, I mean 1/4 maybe, was dedicated to one quite interesting initiative, which was focusing on local seeds. They created community garden, they created a seed bank, and so on. So in that frame, they opened a new community garden in Maribor. Now also some other small appeared in other cities, but it's not a practice that is known in Ljubljana. So it's a little bit test. We know it from, of course, from Berlin, London, we know it from cities elsewhere, but each situation is also different. I mean, there are similar things, but also different situations. And one of the things we were asking, of course, ourselves, because you know Ljubljana is small, and also majority of people integrated from rural areas, is this kind of nostalgia for rural ideas, like community-based life in rural Slovenia. And also because we were part of ex-Yugoslavia, we were practicing this self-management. We were also asking ourselves, is this a nostalgia for this socialistic model of running things? Okay, but what we can say definitely is that what community garden is contributing to the city, to the city development, or to also which relates to the countryside, is that it means to grow food in cities. So this is also connected to practice ecology on everyday life level. To shorten distances for food transportation, and many of these things that are related to urban agriculture. And of course, many situations are that community gardens are revitalizing degraded urban spaces. I didn't take some very known examples, like, for example, maybe you know Prinzessinnengarten from Berlin. But I wanted to look really close also to some ex-Eastern European countries. And in Prague, they are very active. They opened one of the gardens, like you see in a former parking place. So many times, a characteristic of this garden is that there is no earth, or earth is contaminated, so you have to bring new soil. These white bags are really typical also because it's very simple. You can remove easily the earth from the site if necessary. And then in Bratislava they occupied one green space, but as you see also turned it into community garden. And like in Ljubljana, you cannot imagine how many, how big amount of trash we collected from the site. The left side is when we started, and then how it looked after 1 year, almost 1 year. And of course, the other important thing is that these active green spaces, edible green spaces, so the spaces which also so people are not just enjoying green public space, but they are also actively involved in doing with earth and nature, are connecting people in the neighborhood. This is known for also from example of United States. Their community gardens are more common, this similar shape, but in our case, I want to say it's really interesting because people are now from the same entrance. They didn't know each other, like you can imagine. It's like everywhere in urban areas, and now we all meet in this space. For us, and also for all involved, this garden also means to create a platform for networking with similar initiatives on international level and also on local level. So for us, it's we try to, from the beginning, not to be enclosed, so not to be dedicated only to themes related to ecology or to growing food, but we wanted to open the area also to other contents, like, for example, we had some art projects, we organized several lectures which are more or less focused on urban space politics, to get to know examples from elsewhere. So it's really communicating situation. And exactly because of the garden, now for 2 years we work together with other initiatives which are focused on urban space and better involvement of residents into the processes of urban planning and architecture. That they are, we are connected in the network for space, which is really working on different levels. We also we approach municipalities in different cities and discuss different issues. For example, our initiative, KUD Obrat, we are focused on temporary use of space. So this is what we are dealing with, and what I think still this project is important for Ljubljana and for the residents. And of course, in parts, all what is said, what I said, it's connected to the idea of building the city from the bottom up. Of course, it's a little bit challenging to say this to architects and urban planners, but I think also probably architecture and urban planning departments are different, and now the knowledge that the good city can be developed in a way that, or more diverse or appropriate for different levels of education and nationalities and cultures, if the voices of residents are heard. So I think this building the city from the bottom up means that also practicing, experimenting with space, create alternative space, or some spaces that we don't know will function or not function, but at least to try to be able to test together with residents and or people interested in this. Here, important part is self-organization and self-management, because this means that this gives you a certain power to appropriate and adjust space and program according to the needs of people involved, and all this together to reinforce the role of residents in urban planning. I think this is the final slide. Maybe you know, or some of you are here, that me and Vara and Albert from Station and Donieta, we are going to have a workshop that starts tomorrow, and the title is Sound Effects. And I think we will try to develop a similar strategy, or at least part of the strategy would be to really involve with people there, residents and other users of space, and research and see what can be maybe a kind of future development or possibility of this space.
Thank you. It's quite amazing what you do. It's nothing like we have here. So, do we have any questions?
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting community-led regeneration example. As Anna said, we don't practice it here in Kosovo, not that I'm aware of. My question is actually, how is this garden being maintained and managed? Do you have any signs of vandalism by other people who actually don't live there?
We had in the beginning, actually, like the first 2 months, they entered our garden shed from the behind and have stolen tools, because it's the only day we left electrical tools there, and they were installing it. But in general, no, we don't have any vandalism. The only thing is that still the produce, so vegetables and fruits are disappearing, but we don't know what's going on. Is it from the inside or it's from the outside? I mean, small amounts. I think it's no big issue actually.
It's sustainable, like, generally.
What does it mean?
How do people actually divide these plants? I mean, is there anything, who actually takes these plants?
Okay, yeah, I understand. Because community gardens are, probably you imagine community gardens as we grow everything together, but it's not exactly like this. One version, or I don't know, maybe a mixture of it is that we have individual garden beds and community garden beds. More, of course, most are individual, but I think what is important here is that we have a lot of other space, like you see maybe on when we had lectures. It's a concrete platform that existed already there. We had other empty space which is managed together. So we have some collective actions, and we clean this and arrange this.
Any other question? I'll make a question. Why did the municipality choose your organization? Why were your requests so special, since it was so difficult to communicate?
I think it was not that they choose us, but we came there and asked them. So I think probably it's, we were quite strong, I think, already from theoretical background. Now people are asking us why to us it's not possible to give, but the groups are not so strong. I think they have to, you have to really deal with all these also question, ask them, telephone them, it's like a slow process, and you have to be persuasive, or how to say, one important thing I need to mention is that it was a bit connected, the sub-mayor, the main architect of Ljubljana is my ex-professor, for example, so he knew us. But he is not the majority of bureaucracy in the municipality, because in general he's very open-minded and he supported this idea, but he had really, he was a strong support for us. But we hoped also him and me, like us and him, that this will start to change process, that we will be the first one who need a little bit help, but this will then go on, but it's really not. So it's, we are the 5th year there, and also we did some intervention on other part of the construction site, but it's really, it's not possible somehow. Maybe if you are a big group, but there are not, at the moment, not such big groups with such idea that they would make it.
Yes, and related to your comments, have you thought about approaching differently? Do you think to change the strategies so the message that, or the model that you're trying to reintroduce can be multiplied in other places?
Yes, of course. This is what we want, but you think if municipality was considering this to multiply? No. Was this the question?
Yes, sort of. I refer more to your work, to your NGO.
Yes.
Have you thought about different approach to make aware municipality to use these kind of places?
This is what we are doing, this network for space. We are this temporary use of space. We talk to them. We now really, we have one lawyer included, so she was really checking all the definitions, and we did professional or official proposal to add some things to be more flexible, because for them, maintaining, the good master, now, because city must be a good master of their property, the good master is earning money out of it, and rather not giving it for use, if there is no money out of it. So this is the general idea of them. And of course, all temporary users, like squatters before or something, they are a danger. So this must be changed on both sides. Also on our, for example, I mean, on user side, that if you have a contract, it's good to respect it. So I think that's why for us it's very important that we deal with this contract, because I think we also, from the inside, somehow influence the processes. We can say, look, it's possible. We have this contract. It's possible.
Another question? And I'll make another question. You mentioned about people squatting the land, the property of the municipality. Was it land on the suburbs or somewhere in the center? Or?
You mean what we told before?
Here, you were telling us in the beginning that people were making gardens.
Okay. This was after the war. So this was a long process. Ljubljana, when you look at Ljubljana, the main urbanization process started after the war and ended in 80s. So the same number of people that was in 80s is there now. And in these 30 years, 50 to 80, of course, because they built a lot residential buildings, also beside residential buildings, these areas appeared. These areas at that time were many on the outskirts. But of course, through time, because the city developed, they became more important. So one, for example, I didn't include this, but one very problematic from my point of view is that they erased more than 500 gardens and they did a public park. So this, I mean, of course we are happy to have a public park. They didn't create a public park for, I don't know, 20 years, but still, you know, to remove the gardens to have a public park is a kind of contradiction. Especially, I mean, it would be very contemporary or modern that you would keep one part and maybe keep one, turn one part on the public park, because the main objection for this was this area of the gardening area was really opposite to main city cemetery, which was built by Jožef Plečnik, like the most important Slovene architect, and it's national heritage, even I think in UNESCO, and this was the main argument to remove them, the gardens.
Thank you. As I see, we don't have any questions, so I'll go